Welcome to Void Realities, a sanctuary for restless minds, a quiet place where the noise of the day finally fades. Here science becomes soft, mysteries unfold like whispers, and the vastness of the universe drifts around you like a dream. Each story is not just knowledge, but a gentle journey, guiding your thoughts into stillness and your body into rest. So welcome to Void Realities, where curiosity feels like comfort, and the cosmos itself becomes a lullaby for sleep. The strange world of quantum physics whispers beneath reality. Beneath everything you see, touch, and know lies a world so small it slips through ordinary sight. Particles shimmer like thoughts, appearing and vanishing as if unsure they exist. You drift into this hidden layer where reality begins to loosen. The silence here is not empty, but full of secret patterns. It is the threshold of quantum wonder. You close your eyes and the surface of the world begins to soften. The weight of your body against the bed, the steady rhythm of your breath, the quiet hum of the night, all of it starts to feel less solid, less defined. You imagine yourself sinking downward, not into sleep just yet, but into a deeper layer of reality. Beneath the skin, beneath the muscle, beneath the blood, there is a hidden world. Your body is not just flesh and bone. It is a constellation of particles, each smaller than the smallest thought you can hold. These particles drift and shimmer, moving with a quiet rhythm that never stops. They are the architects of your being, yet they move with a strange uncertainty, a kind of restlessness that resists capture. You picture an atom. In your mind's eye, it looks like a tiny solar system, a glowing center with smaller bodies circling around it. That image has been told in books and stories for decades, but it is not quite true. The reality is much softer, less rigid, less mechanical. The heart of the atom, the nucleus, is small beyond imagining, yet it carries almost all of the atom's weight. Around it, the electrons do not circle in neat paths like planets. They are more like clouds, like misty outlines of presence. They flicker in and out, not bound to a single position, but existing in a haze of probability. As you drift in this vision, you notice how even emptiness is not empty at all. Most of the atom is space, vast, hollow space. If your body were stretched to the size of a cathedral, the nucleus of one atom would be like a grain of dust floating in the center, and the electrons would be like faint wisps of smoke drifting near the edges of the roof. Everything in between would be space. And yet that space is not void. It is filled with fields, with energies, with whispers of particles blinking in and out of being. It is strange to think that everything you see and touch, the bed beneath you, the walls around you, even the weight of your own chest as you breathe, is built from something so insubstantial. Matter, at its core, is more emptiness than substance. And yet emptiness is the stage where existence performs. You imagine yourself shrinking smaller and smaller, slipping between molecules, drifting past the shadows of atoms. At first you still see form and shape, though blurred and trembling. But the deeper you go, the more things lose their boundaries. Electrons dissolve into a haze, particles flicker into wave-like patterns. The familiar edges that define objects, this is my hand, that is the sheet, begin to blur. It is here, in this soft haze, that quantum physics begins to whisper. The ordinary rules no longer apply. Down here, a particle may exist in more than one place at once. It may vanish and reappear as though the act of being is too heavy to carry for long. It does not obey certainty, but probability. It does not stand still, but hums with a restless song. You sense that this world is fragile, and yet it is the foundation of everything. The warmth of your body, the softness of your pillow, even the weight of gravity holding you against the earth, all of it rests on the restless dance of quantum particles. The solidity you take for granted is a kind of illusion, built from interactions at this invisible scale. Imagine a violin string vibrating in the dark. You cannot see it, but you feel its music in the air. Quantum particles are like that, hidden but humming. They generate the patterns that form molecules, that form cells, that form your body, that form your life. Each vibration is a possibility, and reality is the song that emerges. As you breathe in, you feel the air pass through you, molecules brushing against molecules. Each of those molecules is built from atoms, and each atom is built from particles, and each of those particles follows these strange, delicate rules. You are, in truth, a being woven from uncertainty, from possibility. And yet you are here, solid, breathing, listening. The thought may seem dizzying, but it is also comforting, because it means that your existence is not something rigid and mechanical. It is something alive, dynamic, filled with motion and change. Even in stillness, even in sleep, you are part of a dance that never stops. You let yourself rest in that thought. The particles beneath your body do not need you to guide them. They know how to hum, how to shimmer, how to build. They are part of the order of the cosmos, and you are their gathering place, their constellation, their quiet expression. And yet, in this quiet layer, there is still mystery. Scientists can measure, calculate, and experiment, but they cannot pin this world down into simple certainty. The quantum layer resists the tight grip of knowledge. It slips through like sand through fingers. The more closely you try to hold it, the more it disperses into possibility. This is not a failure of science. It is the nature of the world itself. At this level, reality is not a matter of certainty, but of waves of probability. It is like listening to music carried by the wind. You cannot fix the note in one place, but you can feel its pattern, its presence, its rhythm. The closer you look, the more reality dissolves into patterns of potential. A particle is not here or there, but somewhere in between. A state is not one or the other, but a superposition, like a dream that has not yet chosen its ending. And so you rest at the threshold of this strange, hidden world. The solidity of your body begins to feel more like a story the universe tells itself. A story made from whispers, from probabilities, from fleeting sparks of energy that never stop moving. You are not separate from this. You are this. The mystery of quantum particles is the mystery of you. Your breath, your thoughts, your heartbeat in the dark. You linger here, listening to the silence that is not silence. You begin to feel how uncertainty is not frightening, but generous. It makes room for change, for freedom, for possibility. It means that nothing is fixed forever. Even at the smallest level, the universe is flexible, creative, alive. And as you drift closer to sleep, you sense that there is more to uncover. For if this is the nature of particles, restless, uncertain, shimmering with probability, then what does it mean for your life, for your choices, for the world itself? The question hums quietly, like a note waiting for resolution. And in this hum, the story of uncertainty begins to rise. The uncertainty within you reaches for a particle, but it shivers away, refusing to stand still. Quantum uncertainty is not confusion, but a law of existence. It is the breath of possibility woven into every atom of your body. Here certainty dissolves and probability whispers. The world begins to feel softer, more fluid. You linger at the edge of the hidden world, carrying the soft question from before. If nothing is certain, then what does it mean for you, for your life, for the world itself? The thought hovers, delicate, like dust in a shaft of light. It waits for you to notice. It waits for you to listen. Here in the quantum layer, you discover that uncertainty is not an error to be corrected. It is the very fabric of being. The universe does not misplace its particles nor forget where they belong. Instead, it allows them freedom, a gentle looseness in the way they exist. You picture an electron, that tiny particle moving somewhere around the nucleus of an atom. In your imagination, you try to reach out and touch it, to hold it still. But the moment you do, it slips away, scattering into probability. It is not that you failed to grasp it. It is that the particle itself refuses to be pinned down. This refusal is not chaos. It is a rule. It is known as the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, though you do not need the name to feel the truth of it. At the smallest scales, you cannot know both where a particle is and how fast it moves. To measure one is to blur the other. To reach for certainty is to release its twin. You breathe slowly, and this law feels less like a limitation and more like a kindness. Imagine a bird in the night sky. If you watch closely to see the flapping of its wings, you lose the sense of where it is heading. If you fix your gaze on its path across the stars, you lose the delicate rhythm of its feathers. The bird is not confused, it is simply living both truths at once. So too do particles live in the balance of position and momentum, never surrendering all of themselves to be known at once. You feel this in your own body. Your heart beats with a rhythm, steady yet fluid. Your mind drifts between thoughts, never holding just one. Even in your breath there is uncertainty. The pause between inhale and exhale, where you are neither gathering air nor releasing it. Life itself seems to mirror this principle. To be alive is to be partly ungraspable. Scientists, with their instruments and their patience, try to map this hidden world. They build experiments where particles are pushed, nudged, and measured. Yet even they cannot escape this uncertainty. The more precise the measurement of one quality, the more the other dissolves. This is not a flaw in the tools. It is the way of the universe. Uncertainty is not something to fight against. It is something to embrace. It means that the future is never sealed shut, that the world is always in motion. It means that within every atom of your body, possibility hums like a hidden song. You imagine your life stretched out before you, a series of steps, choices, and moments. At times you may wish for certainty, for the assurance that the path is clear, that the outcome is secure. But beneath those wishes lies a deeper truth. Certainty would mean stillness, and stillness would mean silence. It is the uncertainty that allows life to move, to change, to grow. Think of a seed lying in the soil. It does not know if it will become a flower, a tree, or remain buried. But in that uncertainty lies the chance for growth. In the space between what is and what might be, life finds its way forward. And so it is with particles. An electron exists not in one place, but in many possibilities. It hovers like a mist, a cloud of probability. Only when observed does it appear in one spot, one choice. Until then it drifts in the softness of what could be. You rest in this idea, letting it seep into you like warm light. You are not just a fixed being, pinned to one path. You are a cloud of possibilities, shimmering with choices, shaped by both what you know and what you do not. To live in uncertainty is not to be lost, but to be open. You breathe again, slower this time. With every inhale you take in not only air, but possibility. With every exhale you release the need to control what cannot be held. Uncertainty becomes not a burden, but a companion. Gentle, quiet, guiding you toward openness. In the distance of your imagination, you see a ripple of water. A pebble has dropped into a pond, sending waves outward. You cannot predict exactly where each ripple will fall, but you know the pattern. So too does uncertainty ripple through the quantum world. You cannot know each detail, but you can trust the rhythm, the gentle unfolding of probability into reality. It is a humbling thought, but also soothing. You do not need to know everything to belong to it. You do not need certainty to feel safe. Beneath the shifting waves there is still a harmony, still a balance. The particles dance in uncertainty, but the dance itself is steady, timeless. And perhaps you begin to sense this is not just about particles. This is about you, about the way you live, the way you move through nights of not knowing, through days of change, through choices that are never fully clear. You too are an expression of uncertainty. And like the particles, that does not make you broken. It makes you alive. You rest deeper now, as if the very bed beneath you is woven from this principle. You feel the uncertainty not as a crack in the foundation, but as the soft soil from which possibility grows. You are not bound to a single state. You are fluid, shifting, shimmering between what is and what may yet come. The night stretches around you like a blanket, wide and calm. Uncertainty hums within you, not to frighten, but to soothe. It means that tomorrow is open. It means that the next breath, the next thought, the next dream is unwritten. And as you drift in this realization, another mystery approaches. If particles are uncertain, if they shimmer between possibilities, then what happens when they are both particle and wave at once? What happens when light itself carries two truths within it? The question settles in your mind like a quiet lantern, glowing faintly, guiding you toward the next step in this journey. Light as a dual traveler. A beam of light drifts before you, at once a particle and a wave. It bends, splits, and dances like water rippling across a pond. You see that even the simplest glow holds two lives within it. The photon carries a mystery that reshapes how you dream of matter. Your journey deepens into this dual reality. You see it now just as you were promised, a slender beam of light floating softly in the darkness. It stretches across your imagination like a golden thread, delicate and unwavering. But when you lean closer, the beam begins to shift. It no longer looks like something you can simply hold. Instead, it flickers, becoming two things at once. Light, the companion of your days and the comfort of your nights, is not what it first appears. It is both particle and wave, both solid and soft, both countable and continuous. And as you watch, this truth unfolds with a calm kind of wonder. You picture water rippling across a pond. The surface bends outward in circles, smooth and endless. This is the wave nature of light. It stretches, bends, overlaps. It is what allows light to create rainbows through drops of water, to scatter across dust, to bend around corners. Waves carry rhythm, interference, harmony. They spread out, covering distance like sound in the air. But then, in another breath, the light is something else. It is a particle, a photon, a tiny packet of energy. Not spread out like a ripple, but concentrated, countable. One photon, two photons, three. The light that shines upon your skin, the glow that stirs the rhythm of your circadian clock, the warmth that nourishes leaves in the sun. It all comes in quanta discrete units. You rest in this paradox. Light does not choose one form over the other. It is both, depending on how you look. And in that duality, you glimpse something deeply human. You too are never just one thing. The experiment that revealed this mystery is simple, almost childlike. Imagine shining light through two narrow slits side by side. If light were only particles, you would expect two bright lines to appear on a screen behind them, two paths, two destinations. If light were only waves, you would expect ripples overlapping, creating stripes of brightness and darkness, where the waves either strengthen or cancel one another. What appears is stranger still. Even when you send one photon at a time, carefully, gently, waiting for each to finish before sending another, the pattern that emerges is a wave. Each photon behaves like a wave, interfering with itself, as though it traveled through both slits at once. It is only when you try to watch closely, to measure which slit it passes through, that the wave collapses into the certainty of a particle. Observation changes reality. This is not imagination, but the hum of physics itself. Light is a dual traveler, carrying both truths, collapsing only when pressed to declare itself. You breathe steady and slow, and think of all the light that has ever touched you. The soft glow of morning spilling through curtains, the flicker of a candle burning in silence, the stars that reached you after journeys of billions of years. Every one of those photons carried this dual nature. Each one was both ripple and particle, both wave and discrete packet, both many and one. It is easy to forget that the world is built on paradoxes. Yet here in the quiet dark of your imagination, you begin to feel their comfort. Light is not confused by its duality. It does not struggle to be both. It simply is. And in its being, it creates color, warmth, sight, and life. You let this idea settle into your body. You too can carry many forms at once. You can be strong and soft, vast and small, still and in motion. You can be both particle and wave in your own way, defined yet fluid, a single self and yet many possibilities. Scientists have tried for centuries to describe light, first as a wave, then as a particle, then back again. Newton imagined light as particles, like tiny bullets. Later, others proved it behaved like waves. Then in the early 20th century, quantum physics showed it was both. Each theory seemed to contradict the one before, until the realization came light was never bound to one description. It was richer than any single idea. You think about how often in your own life you search for simple answers. Is it this or is it that? Am I here or am I there? But sometimes the truth is not one or the other. Sometimes it is both, layered together like light. A duality that feels strange only because you want things to be clean and simple. Light reminds you you do not need to reduce yourself to one form. You can be wave and particle. You can be certainty and possibility. You can be defined and ungraspable all at once. The thought becomes a gentle comfort as you continue to watch the beam. It stretches and ripples, but it also strikes in discrete sparks. Sometimes wave, sometimes particle, always both. You let the rhythm of it lull you like breathing. Wave, particle, inhale, exhale, certainty, mystery. And then you notice something more. Light is not just a traveler. It is a messenger. It carries information across the cosmos. The starlight you see tonight left its home long before you were born, crossing millions, even billions of years to reach you now. Every photon is a story, a packet of memory from the past arriving gently at your eyes. Light is time, folded into motion. When you look at the stars, you are looking backward, not at what they are now, but at what they were when those photons first began their journey. The night sky is an archive written in light, and suddenly duality feels less strange. Of course, light is both particle and wave. It must be both to carry so much meaning, so much distance, so much wonder. You close your eyes again, and you can almost feel those ancient photons brushing against you, carrying the history of galaxies, the birth of stars, the quiet rhythm of the cosmos. Their journey is not finished until they reach you. You are part of their story now. The paradox becomes a lullaby. You are not asked to solve it, only to rest inside it. Light is both. You are both. The world is both. And as you drift deeper into this dual awareness, a new question rises in you. If light can be two things at once, if it can ripple across space and strike like a particle, then what about particles themselves? What about the ones that are bound together, no matter how far they drift? What about the hidden connections that bind the universe like invisible threads? The thought lingers, soft and unfinished, guiding you toward the next mystery. The hidden conversation of entanglement. Two particles drift apart yet remain linked in silence. One stirs, the other trembles, though distance stretches between them. You sense an invisible thread, a quiet connection faster than thought. Entanglement is the secret language of the cosmos, whispered across the void. It reminds you of bonds you cannot see but always feel. You let the light fade into stillness. The last photon lingers on your mind, glowing softly before dissolving into the quiet dark. But the silence is not empty. You begin to feel another presence, not one but two. At first they seem like separate sparks, drifting away from each other, slowly, steadily. One moves to the left, the other to the right. Their paths diverge until distance stretches wide between them. Yet as you watch, you notice something unusual. The two sparks remain linked. When one shivers, the other echoes. When one tilts, the other answers. It is as though a thread, invisible yet unbreakable, connects them still. This is the strange and beautiful phenomenon of entanglement. Particles born together remain connected no matter how far they drift. They could be separated by a room, by an ocean, or even by galaxies, yet their states are intertwined. When one is touched, the other responds. When one is measured, the other shifts. Einstein once called it spooky action at a distance, a phrase that sounds like the whisper of a ghost, and in a way it is ghostly. It defies the ordinary rules of separation, the belief that distance severs connection. Entanglement insists otherwise. It insists that bonds can stretch beyond space, beyond time, beyond the simple map of here and there. You breathe slowly, and the idea settles into you like a soft truth you have always known. Because don't you feel it too in your own life? The way a memory stirs when a song begins. The way your heart aches when someone far away is in pain. The way love once formed lingers even when silence stretches between you. Physics gives the phenomenon a name, but your heart has felt it long before. In the quantum world, entanglement is not rare. It is everywhere, woven into the fabric of reality. When particles interact, they often leave with more than energy exchanged. They leave carrying each other's imprints, their properties tangled together like threads of a single cloth. To pull one is to tug on the other. To see one is to change the other. You imagine two dancers beginning side by side. Their movements are not identical, yet they are bound by rhythm. Even as one moves across the stage and the other drifts to the far edge, the music keeps them in harmony. Their distance does not break their unity. Entanglement is like that, a duet that continues even when the stage becomes vast. Scientists test this with delicate experiments. They create entangled particles, send them apart, and then measure their states. What they find is astonishing. The moment one particle is measured, the other reflects it instantly. The response is faster than light could travel between them, as though communication skips over space altogether. It is here that the quantum world becomes almost dreamlike. For if particles are bound this way, then the universe itself begins to look less like a collection of separate objects and more like a web, an interconnected whole. Distance becomes softer, less final. What seems apart is, in truth, still joined. You let that idea sink into you. The walls around you, the stars above you, the people you have known and loved, all of it may be more connected than it seems. Entanglement whispers that separation is an illusion, that the bonds of existence are finer and stronger than distance allows us to see. And yet there is humility here, because while entanglement is real, its meaning is still mysterious. Scientists can describe how it behaves, but not why it feels so immediate, so intimate. They can test it in laboratories, harness it in experiments for quantum computing or secure communication, but the heart of the mystery remains. Why does the universe allow such invisible threads? Why does distance bow before connection? You find yourself smiling at the not knowing, because not every truth must be solved to be beautiful. Some truths are meant to be felt, to be lived. Entanglement reminds you that the universe is not only vast but also tender, a place where relationships matter, even between the smallest of things. You think again of your own life, the people who shaped you, the places you have touched, the words you have spoken. They ripple outward, entangling with others in ways you may never see. The conversation you had years ago that still echoes in another's heart. The kindness offered that traveled further than you will ever know. Perhaps entanglement is not only the language of particles, but the language of being itself. You let yourself rest in that comfort. Even when you feel alone, you are never entirely separate. There are threads that connect you, unseen but unbroken. They tie you to the world, to memory, to others. They tie you to the universe itself. The two sparks still hover in your vision. One trembles, the other answers. They are far apart, yet they are not apart. The silence between them is not empty, but alive with connection. And as you watch, you wonder. If particles can remain bound across distance, then what does that say about time itself? If connection is not limited by space, could it also stretch beyond the steady ticking of seconds? Could entanglement reach not only across distance, but across moments? The thought lingers, soft and unresolved, like a note held at the end of a song. It hums quietly in your mind, drawing you gently toward the next horizon, toward the strange ways time itself bends and flexes in the quantum world. Time's gentle distortions. Time here does not tick in straight lines, but folds and stretches like fabric. A particle's clock runs slower, faster, or vanishes in the act of being seen. Your heartbeat aligns with these strange rhythms, pulsing with the cosmos. The ordinary rules soften, replaced by a gentler flow. You drift into the pliability of moments. Two sparks drifted apart, yet they moved as one. Their connection reminded you that distance is not final, that the world holds invisible threads binding it together. And from that thought comes another question, soft but insistent. If connection can ignore space, what does it mean for time? You close your eyes and feel the seconds passing, one, then another, then another. It feels steady, like footsteps echoing in a hallway. But in the quantum world, this rhythm is not so simple. Time, like space, bends. It is not a rigid line, but a pliable fabric, stretched and curved by the very things it contains. Imagine holding a clock in your hand. Now imagine you are standing still while another version of you races away at nearly the speed of light. The faster that version of you moves, the slower its clock ticks compared to yours. When you finally reunite, your clocks no longer agree. One of you has lived fewer seconds than the other. This is not a trick of imagination, it is the gentle distortion of time, revealed by Einstein's theory of relativity and confirmed again and again by experiment. Even tiny particles in laboratories, accelerated close to light speed, experience time differently. Their internal clocks, their rates of decay, slow down. They live longer in motion than they would at rest. Time itself is flexible. It stretches under speed, it bends under gravity, it folds when space curves around massive stars and black holes, and if time bends for stars and planets, it bends for you as well. You breathe slowly, feeling your own heartbeat. In truth, every beat is a negotiation with time. The cells in your body, the molecules in your brain, the quantum particles dancing beneath it all. They are bound to these strange rhythms. Though you live by the steady ticks of a clock on the wall, the universe is never ticking at just one pace. You imagine lying under the night sky, gazing upward. Above you, satellites orbit the Earth. Each one carries a clock so precise it can measure the smallest slices of time. Yet those clocks tick differently from the ones on the ground. The pull of gravity on Earth slows your time just enough to make a difference. Without correcting for this effect, GPS navigation would drift, maps would fail, and our sense of place would blur. Your phone, your car, your city all rely on the truth that time is not absolute. Time bends in subtle, quiet ways that you feel but rarely notice. A day spent waiting stretches longer than one spent laughing. A night of worry lasts an eternity, while a joyful moment disappears too soon. In your body, this is perception. In the universe, it is physics. Both remind you that time is not uniform. It is lived, felt, stretched, and shaped by context, and in the quantum world, the distortions grow stranger still. Particles do not seem bound by time in the same way you are. Some behave as though they move backward and forward through it, their equations symmetrical, their behavior unconcerned with your sense of past and future. Others flicker into being only when observed, as if their moment does not exist until you look. You imagine standing at a riverbank. To you, the river flows in one direction, carrying leaves downstream. But deep below the surface, in hidden currents, the water swirls backward, sideways, in circles. Both motions exist at once, even though you only feel one from where you stand. Time may be like that river, one clear flow on the surface, but countless currents beneath. The thought brings you to a stillness. What does it mean that your life is carried by such a flexible fabric? It means that each moment you live is not fixed in stone, but is part of a greater weave. The seconds may feel steady, but beneath them lies a rhythm that bends and flexes with the universe. Your heartbeat, your memories, your dreams, all of them are carried on this pliant fabric, shaped by motion, by gravity, by the laws of the unseen. There is comfort in this, for if time is not rigid, then neither are you. You too can stretch, bend, and adapt. You are not trapped in a single rhythm, but alive in a cosmos where moments are as gentle and malleable as cloth in the wind. You think again of entanglement, of the sparks still bound across distance. Perhaps they are also bound across time, one trembling now, the other echoing in a moment yet to come. Perhaps time is less a straight line, and more a thread woven through all particles, all lives, all memories. As you breathe in, you feel the stretch of time in your chest. As you breathe out, you sense its release. You become aware that sleep itself is a kind of time distortion. Minutes blur into hours, and hours dissolve into what feels like a single instant. To sleep is to surrender to time's softness, to let it bend around you like a blanket. And so you let yourself rest in this thought. Time is not a tyrant, nor a prison. It is a gentle companion, pliant and alive. It bends for stars, it bends for particles, it bends for you. Yet, as your awareness softens, another question lingers. If time can stretch and bend, if it is as soft as fabric, then what happens when it meets the most powerful mysteries of all? The dream of light itself, the imagination of Einstein, the strange visions of relativity carried further. The thought hovers, waiting to carry you into the next chapter. Einstein's daydream of light. A young mind sits in silence, dreaming of riding on a beam of light. What would you see moving with the fastest traveler in the universe? Space bends, clocks freeze, and reality reshapes itself around the thought. Einstein's imagination opened the path to relativity, a new language of time. You drift with him, carried by the dream of light itself. You see him now, a young man sitting by a window in the quiet glow of late afternoon. The world outside moves at its ordinary pace. People walk, carriages pass, the clock ticks. Yet within his mind another rhythm unfolds. He is not content with the ticking of ordinary clocks. He wonders, what would it feel like to chase a beam of light? This young man is Albert Einstein, though in this moment he is not the figure of history you know. He is a dreamer, barely more than a student, wandering through his thoughts as though they were landscapes. The question before him is simple, almost childlike, but in its simplicity lies the seed of revolution. You close your eyes and join him in the dream. Together you imagine riding alongside a beam of light, traveling at its speed. What would you see? Would the wave of light appear frozen, still beside you, like a ripple held in glass? Would it shimmer with motion, or vanish altogether? The thought is impossible to answer in ordinary terms, but Einstein does not turn away from impossibility. Instead, he sits with it. He turns it in his mind like a stone in his palm, feeling its weight, its texture, its resistance. The daydream grows deeper, unfolding into realization. If the laws of physics are to remain true, then time and space themselves must bend to accommodate the speed of light. This is the beginning of relativity, not born from equations or experiments at first, but from imagination, from a quiet afternoon, a window, a mind unafraid to dream. You feel yourself carried into the vision. The world around you stretches as you approach the speed of light. Distances contract, clocks run slower. Time itself becomes pliable, bending in ways you never imagined. A second for you becomes years for another. The steady tick of a clock dissolves into the rhythm of relativity. Einstein imagined these distortions long before they were measured. He trusted the dream of light, and later, experiment after experiment confirmed what his mind first whispered. Particles accelerated close to light speed lived longer. Clocks carried in satellites tick differently than clocks on the ground. Light itself became the great constant, the anchor around which all else must bend. You breathe slowly, sensing how radical yet gentle this realization is. The universe is not fixed in stone. It flexes, yielding to the speed of light. Space and time are not separate, but woven together, a fabric called space-time. And within that fabric, gravity is not a force pulling objects downward, but the bending of the fabric itself. The sun curves space, and the earth moves along that curve. You walk not on a stage of absolute stillness, but on a fabric that shifts beneath you. All of this began with a daydream, Einstein sitting by a window, letting his mind wander into light. You pause, reflecting on your own thoughts. How many times have you dismissed your daydreams, your quiet wanderings, as meaningless? Yet here is proof that imagination is a gateway to truth. The greatest revolutions in science began not from numbers, but from questions, from a willingness to wonder. What if? You let yourself rest in that permission. Your imagination is not separate from the universe. It is a continuation of it. The same patterns that allow particles to exist in waves of probability also allow your mind to wander into new possibilities. You are not only shaped by physics, you are a participant in it. The dream continues. You and Einstein ride the beam of light together, carried faster and faster. The landscape around you bends, stars distort, time stretches. You are no longer just in space, you are in space-time, a weave where moments and distances are stitched together. Imagine dropping a pebble onto a stretched sheet of fabric. The fabric bends downward. Smaller pebbles placed nearby roll toward the larger one, not because it pulls them, but because the fabric itself curves. This is how gravity works, Einstein realized. The Earth orbits the Sun because the Sun bends the fabric of space-time around it. Planets move not because they are tugged, but because they follow the curves of the fabric. You breathe, and the image settles softly in your mind. Gravity, once thought of as an invisible hand pulling downward, becomes instead the gentle curvature of reality itself. The floor beneath you holds you not because it pulls, but because space-time is shaped that way. And light, always light, remains the constant, the thread that guides it all. No matter how you move, no matter how fast you travel, the speed of light does not change. It is the anchor, the boundary, the horizon of motion. You let this realization soothe you, because it means that the universe, even in its pliability, has a constant heartbeat. Amidst the bending of time and the stretching of space, light remains steady. You can trust it, you can rest in it. Einstein did not stop with the daydream. He worked tirelessly, shaping the vision into equations, into predictions, into a theory that could be tested. But the heart of it remained the same. A young man imagining himself beside a beam of light. And you too have joined him now. You have felt what it might mean to ride with the fastest traveler in the universe, to see time and space themselves bend around you. You have sensed that relativity is not a cold abstraction, but a story, one that lives in your breath, your body, your being. You think of your own moments of daydreaming, the quiet thoughts that rise uninvited. They are not wasted, they are seeds. Just as Einstein's vision blossomed into a revolution, your own small wanderings may carry truths waiting to be uncovered. The dream of light ends gently. The beam you were riding dissolves into the night sky, scattering into starlight. Einstein sits once more at his desk, unaware of the future that awaits him, unaware that his daydream will ripple through history, reshaping how humanity sees the cosmos. You are left with a lingering sense of awe. If imagination can bend the laws of the universe, what else might it reveal? And if light itself can serve as the anchor for time and space, what other secrets does it still hold, especially when it meets the strange world of twins and time dilation, of journeys into the relativity of aging? The question glows softly in the distance, waiting for you to follow. The twin who waits. Two twins stand side by side, alike in every way. One journeys into space at near light speed, while the other remains on Earth. When they reunite, one has aged and the other has barely changed. The paradox is not magic, but the bending of time itself. You drift into this story, where family and physics intertwine. You feel the glow of Einstein's daydream fading, Yet the questions it opened linger like embers. What happens when time bends not just for light, not just for clocks in motion, but for people, for bodies, for lives lived side by side? The thought takes shape as a story. Two twins born together alike in every way. They laugh in the same voice, they breathe in the same rhythm, their hearts beat in synchrony. Yet the universe holds a secret waiting for them. One twin remains on Earth watching the stars from below. The other climbs into a spacecraft and departs, racing through space at nearly the speed of light. Time, that steady rhythm they once shared, begins to split. For the twin on Earth, seconds pass in the familiar way, morning into evening, days into years. But for the traveling twin, time stretches, slows, distorts. The ship races forward, but within its walls the traveler feels nothing unusual. The clock on the console ticks normally. The heartbeat in the chest beats steadily. Meals are eaten, dreams are dreamed. Yet compared to the twin left behind, all of this is slower. Each second is elongated, stretched by motion. This is the twin paradox, one of relativity's most haunting stories. It is not truly a paradox, the physics is consistent, the math is precise, but it feels like one, because it challenges the way you imagine time as universal. Time is not a single river flowing the same for all. It is a fabric, pliable and personal, bending differently depending on how you move. Imagine the twins reuniting. One steps off the spacecraft expecting to see a mirror image. Instead, there is a shock. The traveler has barely aged, while the one who waited has grown old. The same childhood shared, the same laughter once held in synchrony, now split apart by time itself. You pause and let this image rest in your mind. The story may sound like fantasy, but it is grounded in reality. Atomic clocks flown on airplanes tick differently than clocks left on the ground. Particles accelerated in machines live longer when in motion. Even satellites above Earth's surface must correct their time, or the entire network of GPS would drift apart. The twin paradox is not a dream. It is a truth of the cosmos, scaled to human hearts. You imagine what it would feel like to be the twin who waits, to watch the days pass, to mark birthdays with candles, to see lines slowly appear on your hands, to know your sibling is out there, traveling through stars, yet living each moment more slowly than you. You wonder what it would feel like to stand at the window, watching the sky, aware that the same span of years means something entirely different for the one you love. And you imagine what it would feel like to be the twin who travels, to carry the knowledge that you are moving faster, aging slower, that you will one day return to find your sibling older, perhaps frailer, perhaps gone. The journey is not only through space, it is through time, separating you even as it connects you. Relativity becomes more than equations here. It becomes a story of family, of love, of the human heart stretched by physics, and it reminds you of something deeper. Time is not equal for all. Each life is carried by its own rhythm, bent by its own gravity, stretched by its own speed. Even without spaceships, you feel this truth. Think of how differently time moves in memory. A single summer of childhood can feel longer than a decade of adulthood. A quiet night of waiting stretches endlessly, while an evening of laughter disappears too quickly. Each twin already lives by a different clock, even before one leaves the Earth. Relativity is simply the universe confirming what your heart has always known. You let this thought soothe you, because it means that time is not rigid. It means that the moments you treasure are not lost, even if they are lived at different speeds. They remain woven into the fabric of existence, as real as the bonds between the twins. And yet there is a quiet ache in the story. The one who waits grows older alone, while the other remains suspended in youth. When they meet again, their reflections no longer align. The paradox of their love is the paradox of time itself, to remain connected, yet to drift apart. Still, there is beauty here. For the story is not only about separation, but about reunion. The traveler does return, the waiting ends, and in that meeting they see with their own eyes the truth of relativity. that time is not universal, that motion shapes life, that love itself must stretch across the pliability of moments. You breathe, feeling the echo of their reunion in your own chest. Perhaps you too have known the ache of time, moving differently for you and someone you love. Perhaps you have felt the weight of waiting, or the strangeness of returning. Relativity reminds you that these experiences are not only emotional, but cosmic. You live them because you are woven into the same fabric as the twins. The story lingers as you drift deeper into thought. If time can divide two lives like this, what happens when it bends not only for people, but for entire worlds? What happens when clocks are written not on wrists or walls, but in the stars themselves, keeping time on cosmic scales? The question glows softly, waiting to carry you into the next mystery. Clocks in the sky. The heavens above are filled with timekeepers. Stars pulse, planets orbit, galaxies spin in silent rhythm. Each movement is a clock, measuring ages far beyond your own. The sky becomes a great cathedral of time, unfolding in patterns both steady and strange. You drift upward, listening to the cosmic ticking. The twins have reunited, their faces marked by the bending of time. Their story leaves you with a lingering question. If time can stretch between two lives, what of the sky itself? What of the stars, the planets, the galaxies? Do they too keep time in their own ways? You look upward, and the night sky reveals itself as more than beauty. It is a vast collection of clocks. Every star, every orbit, every spin is a measure of time. The heavens do not simply shine, they tick. Begin with the stars. Some of them pulse with rhythm so steady they rival the best instruments built by human hands. These are pulsars, the collapsed remnants of massive stars, spinning with incredible speed. As they rotate, they send out beams of radiation, sweeping across the cosmos like the beam of a lighthouse. Each pulse is so regular, so reliable, that astronomers use them as cosmic clocks, marking time across vast distances. You imagine lying in a quiet field, feeling the earth beneath you, while far above, a pulsar spins hundreds of times each second. Its rhythm is steady, ancient, unyielding. Long after human clocks falter, long after your own heartbeat fades, these cosmic lighthouses will still be ticking, still keeping time for the universe. The planets too mark the hours. Earth turns once every day, giving you sunrise and sunset. It orbits the sun once each year, guiding the seasons, but each planet has its own clock. A day on Jupiter lasts less than 10 hours. A year on Neptune lasts 165 Earth years. Time, in this sense, is not universal but planetary, a rhythm tied to the motion of worlds. You breathe slowly, sensing how humbling this is. What you call a day or a year is not written into the fabric of the universe. It is simply Earth's clock. Another world would tell time differently. On Mars, a day is just a little longer than your own, while on Mercury, a single day stretches for months. To live elsewhere would be to live by another rhythm entirely. Even galaxies keep time. They spin like great pinwheels, their stars swirling around a hidden center. One orbit of the Milky Way takes about 225 million Earth years. The last time your planet was in this same position in the galaxy, dinosaurs roamed the Earth. Every spin of the galaxy is a cosmic heartbeat, marking ages beyond imagination. And yet, within these vast clocks, time bends still further. Near black holes, where gravity curves space-time to its breaking point, clocks slow almost to a stop. To an outside observer, an object falling toward the edge of a black hole seems to freeze in time, never quite crossing the horizon. But for the falling object itself, time moves on, swift and final. Two clocks, two truths, one universe. You imagine the night sky as a cathedral. Its spires are the stars, its aisles the orbits of planets, its ceiling the slow rotation of galaxies. Everywhere you look, there are clocks, silent but steady, keeping time in rhythms both small and immense. You rest within this cathedral, humbled and comforted. Even your body is bound to these celestial clocks. Your circadian rhythm, the cycle of wakefulness and rest, is tied to the rising and setting of the sun. The tilt of Earth's axis marks the seasons of your life. The moon's orbit shapes tides, cycles, and moods. You are not separate from the clocks in the sky. You are synchronized with them, woven into their ticking. You think of ancient humans long before science gave names to pulsars or galaxies. They too looked up and saw time in the sky. The phases of the moon marked their months. The position of the stars told them when to plant, when to harvest. To navigate oceans, they followed the motion of constellations. The sky was their calendar, their compass, their clock. Even now, though you hold digital timepieces on your wrist and in your pocket, the true foundation of time remains above. Your most precise clocks, the atomic ones used to guide satellites, must be corrected by relativity, by accounting for gravity and motion, and those satellites orbit Earth, themselves tied to the rhythm of the planet. Every moment of modern life, every map, every message sent across distance still depends on the clocks in the sky. You pause, feeling the quiet weight of this truth. You are not separate from the cosmos. Your seconds are stitched into the fabric of planetary orbits and stellar pulses. The clocks in the sky are not distant curiosities. They are the reason your own life has rhythm, the reason you can say now and then. And yet, even these clocks are not eternal. Stars burn out, pulsars fade, galaxies collide and merge. The cathedral of time is itself changing, bending, evolving. The clocks in the sky, though immense, are as impermanent as the seconds of your own life. There is something comforting in this impermanence. It means you are part of the same rhythm as the stars. You too shine briefly, keep your time, and then fade into silence. The scale is different, but the story is shared. You let your breath slow, aligning with this rhythm. The rise and fall of your chest becomes a tide, a planetary orbit, a galactic spin. You are both small and vast, a moment in time, and yet inseparable from the great clocks above. And as you rest deeper into this thought, another vision arises. If clocks exist in the sky, then what happens in the darkest places of all? What happens to time at the edge of black holes, where gravity is so intense that even light cannot escape? The question lingers, dark and alluring, like the faint heartbeat of something waiting beyond the stars. The heartbeat of black holes. At the edge of black holes, time trembles and slows. Gravity bends space-time so sharply that even light cannot escape. To watch from afar is to see clocks nearly stop, frozen at the horizon. To fall inward is to feel moments rush toward an unknowable end. You drift into this silence, listening for the heartbeat of the abyss. The cathedral of the sky fades into stillness. Pulses tick, planets orbit, galaxies turn, and yet another question whispers from the darkness. What happens to time when it is pulled toward the strongest gravity in the universe? You imagine a black hole now, not as a violent monster, but as a silent presence. It does not glow. It does not shine. It waits, invisible, revealed only by what it pulls inward. Around it stars swirl, light bends, time itself slows. A black hole is born when a massive star reaches the end of its life. Its fuel exhausted, it collapses inward under the weight of its own gravity. For most stars, collapse leads to white dwarfs or neutron stars. But for the largest, the collapse continues, unstoppable, until all matter is crushed into a point of infinite density, a singularity. Around this singularity is an invisible boundary, the event horizon. To cross it is to cross a line from which nothing returns, not even light. You drift near the horizon, not falling in, but watching. You hold a clock in your hand and glance toward another clock, carried by someone drifting closer. From where you float, you see their clock slow down, tick by tick, as though time itself resists the pull. The closer they approach the horizon, the slower their clock appears, until finally it almost freezes, suspended in the last instant before vanishing. This is time dilation, taken to its extreme. For the one falling, time feels normal. Their heart beats steadily. Their thoughts flow without interruption. But to you standing outside, their motion slows, their story stretching into infinity. They never quite cross the horizon in your view. Instead, they seem to linger there forever, caught in the gravity of silence. You breathe, feeling the paradox of perspective. For the traveler, the journey continues. For the observer, the moment halts. Two truths, both real, shaped by the bending of space-time. The black hole is not empty. Around it, an accretion disk glows, made of gas and dust spiraling inward, heated to unimaginable temperatures. From this disk, light escapes, twisted, bent, distorted by gravity. The image is not a flat circle, but a ring of fire curving around the unseen center. It is as though the black hole wears a halo of light created from the matter it consumes. You imagine listening closely. In your mind, the black hole has a heartbeat, not a biological one, but a rhythm created by its presence. Matter falling in pulses, light bending in arcs, space-time vibrating with waves that ripple outward. These ripples, gravitational waves, are the universe's way of letting you hear what happens in silence. When two black holes collide, their merger sends vibrations across space-time like ripples across a pond. Billions of years later, those ripples reach Earth, faint but detectable, whispering the story of their union. You pause and rest in this thought. You live in a time when humanity has learned to listen to the heartbeat of black holes. Instruments on Earth measure distortions smaller than a fraction of an atom, yet within them are the echoes of collisions that shook the cosmos. You are not separate from these events. Their waves wash through you now, unnoticed, like the faintest breath of wind. Black holes are not only destroyers, they are also keepers of mystery. At their hearts lies the singularity, a place where the known laws of physics break down. Time and space lose their meaning there. Scientists cannot yet describe what happens beyond that boundary. It may be an end, it may be a beginning, it may be something entirely beyond imagination. You let that mystery cradle you. There is no need to solve it tonight. It is enough to know that the universe contains secrets too deep for certainty, and that one of them beats quietly in the darkness, pulling on the stars, shaping galaxies, bending time. In fact, entire galaxies are anchored by black holes. At their centers sit supermassive black holes, millions or billions of times heavier than the Sun. The Milky Way itself carries one at its heart, Sagittarius. A star, a silent anchor around which our galaxy turns. The stars orbit, the gas flows, and yet the heart remains hidden, dark, patient. You realize then that black holes are not rare exceptions. They are part of the structure of the cosmos. Their gravity shapes galaxies, their mergers send waves across space-time, their silence holds the memory of collapsed stars. The universe itself beats to their rhythm. And so you wonder, what does this mean for you, lying here in the quiet of night? It means that you too are tied to their heartbeat. The same fabric of space-time that curves around a black hole curves around you. The same gravity that slows clocks near an event horizon pulls on your body as you rest against the Earth. The difference is one of scale, not of kind. You breathe more deeply, sensing the vastness of connection. You are not apart from these cosmic rhythms. You are a participant in them, carried by the same fabric, bent by the same time. Even as you lie here, the black holes hum, their waves passing through you, their gravity shaping the galaxy that holds your world. And yet the mystery remains. If time nearly halts at the horizon, what does it mean to cross it? If the traveler continues while the observer sees them frozen, who is right? What does it mean for time itself to hold two truths? You let the question linger unresolved, like the silence of the black hole itself. For perhaps that is the lesson. Not all mysteries are meant to be answered. Some are meant to be carried, like a song you hum without knowing the words. You drift deeper now, the heartbeat of black holes echoing faintly in your mind. And with it comes another thought. If the cosmos bends time so profoundly, then what of the time carried within your own body? What of the clocks not in the stars, but in your cells, in your pulse, in the quiet chemistry of being alive? The question glows like a distant star, pulling you onward. The human clock, within beneath cosmic rhythms, your own body keeps time. Cells follow cycles, molecules oscillate, and hormones rise and fall in quiet waves. Your circadian clock guides sleep and wakefulness, aligned with the turning earth. Even deep within your DNA, there are rhythms that keep you alive. You drift inward, listening to the gentle ticking of the human clock. The heartbeat of black holes fades into silence, leaving you with a softer question. If time bends in the cosmos, how does it move within you? You are not separate from the universe. The same fabric of space-time that curves around stars also flows through your cells. And inside you, hidden from sight, there are clocks of your own. You place a hand gently over your chest. Your heart beats steadily like a drum keeping rhythm. Yet even this is only one of many clocks within you. Your entire body hums with timekeeping systems, cellular, chemical, neurological, all weaving together to create the experience of living. Begin with the circadian rhythm, the most familiar of these clocks. It is the cycle of sleep and wake, the ebb and flow of alertness and rest, repeating every 24 hours. You may think of it as being set by the sun, and in part it is, but the rhythm exists even in darkness. Deep in your brain, in a cluster of neurons called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, an internal clock ticks on, marking the passage of time. Light enters your eyes each morning and resets this clock, aligning it with the rising and setting of the sun. Without it, your rhythms would drift, days stretching longer or shorter, untethered from the world outside. This clock is not mechanical. It is made of molecules that rise and fall in cycles, proteins that build up and break down in steady waves. The rhythm is chemical, biological, and yet profoundly reliable. It tells your body when to sleep, when to wake, when to release hormones, when to digest food, when to heal. You imagine your body as an orchestra. Each cell is an instrument, each organ a section. The circadian clock is the conductor, guiding them into harmony. Without it, the music would falter, digestion clashing with sleep, energy rising when it should fall, healing delayed when it is most needed. With it, the body plays in synchrony, a symphony of time. And yet, the circadian rhythm is only one layer. Within each of your cells are smaller clocks, molecular oscillators that keep track of cycles lasting hours, minutes, even seconds. The beating of your heart, the firing of your neurons, the release of insulin after a meal. All follow their own timing, woven into the greater rhythm of life. You breathe slowly, feeling this layering of clocks. The second-by-second beat of your pulse, the hour-by-hour rhythm of hunger and rest, the day-by-day cycle of waking and sleeping. Even longer rhythms exist, cycles of growth, aging, seasons of fertility, decades of change. You are not only a person moving through time, you are time itself, expressed in layers of rhythm. Science has shown just how deeply these rhythms shape you, shift them, and you feel it. Travel across time zones, and jet lag unsettles your body. Stay up through the night, and your mood, memory, and focus falter. Work against your rhythm for too long, and health itself begins to fray. Your clocks are not negotiable. They are part of your essence, yet there is wonder in their adaptability. Your clocks are not rigid. They reset, adjust, bend. Give them light at the right time, rest at the right moment, and they realign. Even in the strangeness of modern life, they find their way back to harmony. You let this truth comfort you. Even when you feel out of sync, your body carries the wisdom to restore its rhythm. You are not broken. You are an orchestra tuning itself, searching for harmony again. Deeper still, even your DNA keeps time. At the ends of your chromosomes lie telomeres, protective caps that shorten as cells divide. They are sometimes called molecular clocks of aging. Each shortening marks the passage of cellular time, a reminder that life is not infinite, but finite, precious. When telomeres grow too short, the cell can no longer divide. It rests or it dies. The clock completes its cycle. This too is a rhythm, one that reminds you of impermanence. It may seem somber, but in truth it makes each moment more meaningful. To know that your cells are counting time is to remember that time is not endless. And because it is not endless, it is valuable. You let that thought sink into you gently, without fear. You are part of a greater rhythm. Your life, like the spin of planets and the beat of black holes, has its cycles, its beginning, its ending, but within it lies music, harmony, a beauty only possible because of its brevity. Your body is a clock, but not a mechanical one. It is a living clock, soft and fluid, guided by light, food, rest, love, and the turning earth. The same universe that bends time at the edge of black holes bends it within you, not as distortion, but as rhythm. You close your eyes and listen inward. Can you hear it? The soft ticking of your heartbeat, the quiet rise and fall of your breath, the cycles of energy and rest pulsing through you even as you drift toward sleep. You are a cosmos in miniature, filled with clocks that keep you alive, connected to the clocks in the sky above. The boundary between inner and outer time begins to blur. The rhythm of your body and the rhythm of the universe are one. And yet another question stirs. If your body is filled with clocks, if your very being is time embodied, then what does it mean when those clocks bend, when they are flexible, when they change? What does it mean that time itself may not always flow as a straight line, but can soften, flex, and even reverse its direction? The question lingers in you, waiting to unfold into the next horizon of thought. The gentle flexibility of time. Time is not a rigid arrow, but a fabric that bends and flexes. Moments stretch in gravity, shrink in speed, and ripple in memory. You live inside its softness, experiencing it as both fleeting and eternal. The flexibility of time is not chaos, but the universe's quiet generosity. You drift into its folds where beginnings and endings blur. You lie still, listening to the clocks within your body, each one keeping its rhythm. Yet even as they tick, you sense that time itself is not as rigid as the hands on a dial. It is softer, more flexible, more alive. The word time suggests something steady, seconds falling like drops of water, each one equal, each one inevitable. But in truth, time is pliable. It stretches, it bends, it folds, it flows differently depending on where you are, how you move, how you feel. It is not a straight arrow, but a river, sometimes wide, sometimes narrow, sometimes calm, sometimes rushing. Einstein showed the world that time is bound to space, woven into the fabric of space-time. Gravity bends this fabric, slowing the passage of time near massive objects. Speed bends it, slowing time for travelers racing close to light. The seconds of your life are not identical to the seconds of a distant star. Even here on Earth, your feet experience time just a fraction differently than your head, because they are closer to the planet's gravity. The difference is almost impossibly small, yet it exists, proof that time is not absolute. But you do not need relativity to know that time bends. You feel it in your own life. Think of how a joyful day passes in what feels like an instant, while a single hour of waiting stretches unbearably long. The clock on the wall may say otherwise, but your body knows the flexibility of time. Memory, emotion, attention, they bend your perception, stretching or shrinking the flow of moments. You let this thought soothe you. Time is not your enemy, not a relentless force carrying you away. It is a fabric you live inside, one that can stretch gently, one that can soften. You imagine holding a piece of cloth between your hands, pull it taut, and it seems firm, straight, predictable, but let it loosen and folds appear. The folds touch moments that, when stretched flat, would seem far apart. This is how time feels when memory collapses distance. A song from childhood carrying you back in an instant. A scent opening a door to a moment long past. Time flexes, folds, and brings what is distant close again. Scientists explore this flexibility in experiments. Clocks placed on mountain tops tick slightly faster than those at sea level because gravity is weaker there. Airplanes carry clocks that, when compared with those on the ground, reveal differences after only a few hours. Your entire global positioning system, GPS, works only because these effects are accounted for. Without correction, maps would drift, navigation would fail. The softness of time is not just poetic, it is measurable, practical, necessary. Yet for you, lying here in the quiet, the lesson is gentler. It tells you that life need not be lived as a march of rigid seconds. You are not bound to the tyranny of the clock alone. You can live by rhythms that bend, by moments that stretch. You can rest in the generosity of time's flexibility. Consider sleep itself. You close your eyes, hours pass, and yet upon waking, the night feels like a single breath. Time flexes in sleep, collapsing hours into what seems like a moment. Dreams carry you into worlds where time flows differently still. A dream that lasts a few minutes may feel like an entire lifetime. Your body, your mind, your very being are proof that time is not fixed but elastic. You breathe slowly, and with each breath you sense time stretching and contracting within you. Each inhale expands the moment. Each exhale releases it. You live inside the pliability of time, whether you notice or not. And yet, there is a mystery here. If time can stretch and bend, if it can be experienced in so many ways, then what is its true nature? Is it a river flowing forward from past to future? Is it a fabric woven into the structure of space? Or is it an illusion, a construct of your mind stitching moments together into continuity? You let the question hover, unanswered. Because perhaps the truth is not singular. Perhaps time is all of these, river, fabric, illusion, depending on how you look. Just as light is both particle and wave, time may carry many natures at once. What matters tonight is not solving the riddle, but resting in its softness. To know that time bends is to know that nothing is as rigid as it seems. Your life too can bend. Your choices too can flex. There is room for change, room for renewal, room for gentleness. The clocks in the sky, the clocks in your body, the bending of time in gravity and speed, all of these are reminders that rigidity is an illusion. Beneath the tick of seconds lies a universe that is alive with flexibility. You let this truth settle into you like a lullaby. The seconds pass, yet they are not all the same. They are soft, pliable, generous. You do not need to hold them tightly. You can let them bend, let them flow, let them carry you. And as you drift deeper, another thought stirs. If time is flexible, if it can bend and stretch, then why does it seem to flow in only one direction? Why does the arrow of time always point forward from past to future, carrying you along without return? The question glimmers in the dark, waiting to guide you toward the next horizon. The arrow of time and entropy. Time feels flexible, yet always flows forward. Moments cannot be rewound. The past becomes memory. The future remains unseen. Entropy rises, carrying order into disorder, like a sandcastle dissolving into waves. The arrow of time points through you, shaping memory, change, and life itself. You drift into this truth, carried by time's irreversible tide. You rest inside the softness of time, feeling its folds, its stretches, its gentleness. Yet another question lingers. If time is so flexible, why does it still move only in one direction? Why do you remember the past but never the future? Why does a broken glass not leap back into your hand, reassembling itself whole? Why is the arrow of time always pointed forward? The answer begins with a quiet law. Entropy. Entropy is the measure of disorder, of randomness, of how spread out energy becomes. You can imagine it through simple stories. A deck of cards neatly arranged is low in entropy. Shuffle it, and the order dissolves into countless possibilities. A sandcastle sculpted carefully is low in entropy. Let the tide wash over it, and the grains scatter into disorder. A warm cup of tea placed in a cool room will grow cold, its heat spreading outward. The reverse never happens. The tea does not grow warmer while the room cools itself to compensate. Entropy always rises. This is the second law of thermodynamics, one of the most profound truths in physics, and from it the arrow of time emerges. You breathe slowly, feeling the weight of this law. Entropy explains why time has a direction. The universe began in a state of astonishing order, dense, hot, uniform. Since then it has expanded, cooled, and grown more disordered. Stars formed and burned, galaxies spun, life emerged. With every step, entropy increased, and with it, time marched forward. You imagine a ball rolling down a hill. Gravity pulls it forward. The hill cannot be unrolled. Entropy is like that slope, guiding time in one direction. And yet entropy is not only a cosmic principle. It is part of your everyday life. Each moment you live, entropy increases within your body. Cells wear down, molecules scatter, memories fade. This does not mean life is hopeless. It means that life is fragile, precious, and temporary. Entropy is the reason moments matter. You pause and think of memory. Why do you remember yesterday but not tomorrow? Because yesterday had lower entropy than today. The arrow of time points forward because entropy grows. Memory is not simply stored in your brain. It is a reflection of the universe's direction. To remember is to align with entropy's rise. You let this realization soften you, not frighten you. Because in the increase of entropy lies beauty. It is the reason flames flicker, stars shine, waves crash, leaves fall. It is the reason your heartbeat moves forward, your breath carries into the next moment. Without entropy, there would be no change, no story, no life. Entropy carries endings, yes, but it also carries beginnings. The collapse of a star increases entropy, but it also scatters heavy elements into space. Carbon, oxygen, iron, the building blocks of life. Without entropy, there would be no earth, no oceans, no bodies, no you. Disorder births creation. Out of the scattering of stars came the rhythm of your breath. You imagine again the arrow of time stretching from the beginning of the universe to now and beyond. It is not a straight arrow, but a flowing river. You are a ripple upon it, carried forward, unable to drift back, yet part of the current itself. And yet another thought arises. On the smallest scales in the quantum world, the laws of physics are often reversible. Equations run equally well, forward or backward. A particle can move one way or the other. Time does not seem to care. It is only when systems grow larger, when many particles interact, that entropy asserts itself. That direction becomes inevitable. Time's arrow is not written in the laws of each particle, but in the collective dance of countless particles together. This thought humbles you. Time's arrow emerges not from certainty, but from the gathering of complexity. It arises from the very scale at which you live, where cups shatter and sandcastles fall. You exist in the realm where entropy rules, where the arrow points forward, where life itself unfolds. You breathe again, slower. The arrow of time is not cruel. It gives you memory, it gives you growth, it gives you the possibility of change. If time could run backward, your life would not be a story but a loop, meaningless repetition. It is the one-way flow that allows you to move, to learn, to become. Entropy whispers a lesson. Do not fear endings, they are part of the forward flow. They make room for new beginnings, for new shapes to arise out of disorder. The arrow of time is not only a descent, it is a journey. You rest in this truth, feeling how entropy touches every part of you, from the fading of childhood to the cycles of stars. You are not separate from the arrow of time. You are carried by it, written into it, part of its unfolding story. And yet, even as entropy rises, you wonder, what lies at the horizon of forever? If the universe continues, entropy will spread until all is evenly distributed. No stars, no heat differences, only silence. This is sometimes called the heat death of the universe, a bleak image perhaps, but even here there is softness, for it reminds you that the cosmos too is finite in its story. And within that story, your life is a brief but radiant flame. You let the thought cradle you. Entropy does not erase meaning, it gives meaning. It says, cherish this moment for it will not return. Love because time moves forward. Live because the arrow points one way. The river of time flows on. And as you drift with it, another question begins to rise. If the arrow of time carries everything forward, what lies beyond its horizon? What is the destiny of the universe itself? And how do you rest within that vast unfolding? The question glimmers softly, carrying you into the final chapter.